Hello, all my magical people out there, and welcome to another Unscripted with Amy Kruzic. Okay, so today I am calling in Laura Massey because we are going to talk about prayer. And who other than Laura knows about prayer? Beautiful prayer. So let's bring in Laura and have a chat. Yay! Hello, Laura.
Hi, Amy.
Hi,
Hi, everybody.
Yes.
It's really, really good to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Yeah, because we thought, why not talk about prayer? Because you have a prayer service you do every other Sunday now.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. And you write your own prayers, and I just am in awe about that because I only come from a Catholic background, so Catholic prayers were always in the forefront of that. That's it.
There you go.
There I go.
Amy's Catholic background. All those things we didn't know about you, Amy.
I know. Did you not know? Yeah, I had to leave because I don't know. Something happened and no, not true. But, David, of course, did not make me an angel. He made me a nun. A spinster. Okay, hold on. Wait till we see Laura's beautiful picture.
So my background was Christian. So so I grew up with very similar sort of prayers, which to me didn't really make sense. And I think even when I was younger, I'm like, I'd rather talk about trees. I'd rather. There you go.
Oh, so beautiful.
That was already that shamanic working with the earth natural side sort of coming through. Right. And the prayers at school always seemed a bit austere.
Yeah.
And a bit grim and lacking in joy, and everything was about obey and it has to be this way. And then when you learn about the unlimited point of view in Andrew's teachings and much more about the expansiveness of prayer, and that's when I started to write my own prayers. But I just remembered when I was at I was about 7. I won a prize. We all had to write a prayer, and they picked the best one to be spoken at assembly. And people were writing and writing. Mine took 2 minutes, and all it said was, "Dear Father God, please bless everybody and keep them under thy tender care." And that was it.
Oh my gosh.
That was it. And I was the one who read it out. But so maybe my prayer history goes back further than I think.
I think it does. I think it does for me. Yeah. Because I think it is for me. I know we had to memorize the prayers, and I didn't go to Catholic school. No, I just would go to catechism or CCD, they call it, on Saturdays. I missed cartoons, but we had to memorize. I don't know if you had to memorize the prayers.
Yes.
For you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Like, okay. What's the one that we all do? We would, our Father who art in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that really didn't make any sense to me either, because they hadn't when I was at school, they hadn't modernized that into more modern language either.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it didn't strike me as something I wanted to say. We just had to say it.
Yeah. We just had to say it.
Which makes it so empty rather than teaching, maybe writing our own prayers, or I don't know. It was just different when I was at school. I've been, at least, getting older, I've been able to do my own prayers, much like you have.
Yeah. And, I think as a child, I liked saying them, especially the one, what is that? Angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom God's love has put me here. Commits me here. Ever this day be at my side. To light, to guard, to rule and guide. Like, I don't know. That's a really yes, I remembered it. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
So it's just a little.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, that I would just say to myself, like that was just something, But do you I wanted to go into, to me, even though we had to memorize those prayers, it was a form of meditation for me. Doing a rosary. I don't know if you had rosary in your, both Catholics have rosaries. So that was a form of meditation for me. And I watched my dad. He would have his rosary all the time with him, and he would pray and have his prayer book. He actually was my, mentor, actually. They didn't even know, but I would watch him do his rosary, read his prayer book. We would even have prayer service because I come from 8 siblings. So my dad and I used to think, why are we doing this? But now I understand. He was bringing the family together, even though we were like him, Han, like, I don't like this. But it was a beautiful way in our household to bring us all together. And we would each read the prayers that we memorized.
Yeah.
So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, but back then, no, that didn't. You're a teenager and you just don't want to be doing this. But yeah. But
you stopped doing prayers by your bed. I mean,
yeah.
I think when I was little, I was kneeling down at the foot of my bed and doing prayers.
Yes. What about kneeling?
That stops. That stops, and then for me, my prayers were like I just speak to ancestors, like my grandmother who had passed when I was 9, and the other one I didn't even know. She passed before I was born. So one of them, because I knew her and I'd lived with her, after she passed, I was talking to her still. And that to me was replace the prayer, because what is prayer if it's not some connection to something we can't see?
Right. So how
not
did you?
Something that's greater than us either, because we're sort of taught, certainly in my upbringing, almost that we're not worthy. Whereas my views now are obviously that we are the universe expressing itself. So I'm talking back, not talking back. That sounds right. Talking, exchanging with the universe, and prayer is a way of doing that.
Yeah.
And the Sunday prayers are a way of. It's good for me to exercise my heart mind to write the prayers. And the other thing, even more important than that, is to get the teachings out there.
Yeah.
Because you'll notice a lot of the prayers I do on Sunday are meditation teachings. So the whole idea is to get those teachings out there in a way that appeals to people. Because just in the language and maybe some of the stories, it's just another way of teaching self-mastery, but in a more subtle way.
I believe, your prayers do put you in that meditative state, and they take you, it feels like a story, like you take us on this little journey.
Yes. Yeah, I do try to do that with most of them, because you want to be able to reach people. You want to be that vibrational match. Obviously, you want to increase your audience, but it's the reason being is so people can get some understanding of the difference between living, as a natural being of Earth rather than being in the world with all the chaos that ensues. So it's almost an escape from some of the crap that's going on in the world. And it doesn't deny it. It just gives another view.
And how do you prepare for prayers? Is it like one word clicks and then you're like, okay, I'm going to go with that? Or is it something that you read, or is it something that you see when you're walking, or
all of the above.
All the above.
So all of the above. So it's also walking. So I might feel inspired. So one of my biggest loves is to walk. It's either the beach or out in the countryside, up in the hills. And I can spend a few hours in the hills, come home, and I just feel amazing. Or I go and visit some ancestral places where my ancestors have lived, or I go to a sacred site. And sometimes, it's just the study of life, going out with friends, everything for all of us is an experience, but it's whether we choose to see it that way or not. We get very entangled. Obviously, we can have a lot of stress and a lot of trauma and a lot of everything in our lives, but sometimes taking a step back from it. We used to talk about the eagle eye view, that detached, unentangled observer, as Andrew calls it, that overall view, that sacred neutral, and taking a step back. And that's what I try and do in the prayers, give it that neutral view to soften things that appear very harsh, like death. Death is one of losing somebody or losing a pet is very hard. But if you can, in maybe a prayer, when someone can see there's, that it's a transitional process. We never really die.
Right.
It's a very difficult subject to get across to people. And that has to be handled very carefully.
Yeah, I agree. Can you give us well, I would like to hear just an on-the-spot kind of sample of prayer, but can you give us an outline of how you start, middle, like do you have a beginning, middle, end to your prayers? And as you're writing them out, does that just naturally happen? Like there has to be a natural process to it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, the more you do it, like usually I'm doing twice a day. So the morning and evening is my prayer time. And then it will depend on what's happening, whether it's a full moon or solstice or just other things. I might just do ceremony. So ceremonial prayers are a bit more intense. I open sacred space. I face each direction. I lay stones. It can get quite intricate with what I do. So that can be quite a long opening, acknowledging the 7 directions and the 4 winds. But usually sort of in the morning, I will, rather than face each direction, I just acknowledge, I'll call in. So I'm calling in those I want to be with me. So for me, it's always the 7 directions, always the 4 winds, always my courts of equity. Okay, so they're going to be the remedy and resolve for me in the moment. And always my ancestors, because any prayer I'm doing and any healing I'm doing through the prayer is for them too, past, present and future. And guides, guardians and angels, which is something I've been doing for a long time. You could say your whole divine soup. You want them there with you. You want them witnessing. Before I went on the ayahuasca journey, because it's grandmother medicine, I called in the grandmothers. And every time for a month, morning and evening, I would sit with the grandmothers and just envisage the grandmothers around me and talk to each grandmother and get messages. So also, how you open your prayers, as I say, would depend on maybe the theme. So you might call in more of your different types of ancestors or your DNA lineage ancestors, like on Samhain, because it's a celebration of our ancestors and the thinning of the veil. I will call in, I can name, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, going back quite a few generations. So that opening, I would call them all in, because for me, it's about them. And I might make them a cake or something like that. That will be part of the prayer time. I just call in whoever it's sort of relevant to. When my mum was quite ill, when she was elderly, I called in the line of grandmothers. So her mother and her grandmother and her great-grandmother, and set photos of them with my mother. So yes, you can call in different aspects depending on who you're calling to, who you want to talk to.
So you're saying call in first, and then you do whatever you are, the writing or the on the spot prayer.
Open sacred space.
Open sacred space. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes you can just launch into things without opening sacred space. I mean, I just prefer to.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
opening a prayer ground. But if you've got a part of the house or part of the garden you've prepared as a prayer ground, which is somewhere you do your prayers regularly, you put offerings, you make that sacred space, you
Hmm.
might walk in there and say, I open sacred space. But
Yeah.
if you do that, you always close sacred space.
Okay.
And I always say thank you. I always acknowledge the ancestors.
Yeah.
You can just, I've been on hilltops and just put my arms up and called to Earth Mother, called to the ancestors of the land. Again, that's calling to acknowledging the peoples of the land. So if I'm in my garden, I will call to the ancestors who lived, because they're still living here, the ancestors of the land
Mm-hmm.
still coexist in this space, just layered over us, is how I see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I will always acknowledge them and share with them the prayers and include them. You want all the energies working with you, whatever prayer ground you choose.
Wow. Oh, that sounds so beautiful the way you put it. Can you now give us like a little sample of, a few sentences of how, yeah, on the spot.
So in these energies of the moment, I clear away any discordant energies on this Zoom chat, on this internet chat with Amy. So we're going to call in our good, true and beautiful ancestors and our guides, guardians and angels and our courts of equity. And we're going to ask the seven directions and the four winds to hear our prayers here today. We come before you now, great mystery, great spirit, with hearts full of love that both Amy, I and David here in the background can share with you messages of peace, for we know this is why we came. And whatever medium and whatever media we can use to get these messages out, whether we do it in stories, whether we do it in meditations, or a simple prayer like this, our aim, ancestors, is to co-create with you energies that match those of the fifth world of peace. For we came to spread the messages of unconditional love, equal co-creation, non-competition. We come to share the messages of union and communion with all sentient kind. And we ask at this time, great mystery, great spirit, universe, to come bring us your blessings upon our endeavors, to tell people, to let people know how to connect hearts and minds, to find their joy, to find their own inner wisdom, to find their own inner self, their authentic self, and to commune with you in the unseen world so we can create a better world. Aho.
Oh, oh,
Whew.
Laura, you totally, the way you just watching you was just so beautiful. You can actually see how you go and just get that information channel.
Yeah,
Like it
it
just,
is lovely. The more I do it, the more it flows. Uh,
wow.
it is. Dale's the same, Andrew's the same. Many
Yeah,
people are
yeah,
the same who can do it.
yeah,
And when you've got that, you're building those bridges between you
yes,
and the unseen. And the more you do it, the more that energy can flow to you.
yeah. And
And that's
before,
the
yeah,
aim is to help others, isn't it? The whole aim is to help others see their inherent value, their worth, and their love,
hmm
and how potent and powerful they are as beings, but powerful for love.
hmm that's so true. How about prayers for yourself? Like if you're going through a struggle of some kind. Same
Yeah.
thing, right? It's asking for that assistance that you need in this moment of now
Hmm.
and bringing it to you, whatever that may look like.
Well,
Yeah.
people find it very difficult when they're in a bad place to pray.
Mm,
But I don't think people
Yeah.
realize, when you make an exclamation, and I hear my friends do it, and I do it sometimes. Oh, thank God. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that a prayer?
That's a prayer. It
Isn't that
is
a
it
little mini prayer?
is.
Yeah. Or the number of times they reach out to God or Jesus or whatever their
Hmm.
belief. I'm not knocking any of it. I can
No.
believe it all. It's fine. We just call it different names. But
Hmm.
they're reaching out sometimes in unknowingness. So they already believe in something else.
Hmm.
They already believe there's something more than
Yes.
just this solid, manifested 3D life. They do. But it's not until they get into very sticky situations sometimes that they call out. But then some people don't know how to call out because they're stuck and they know they want to do prayer and they're in
Mhm.
this stuckness.
Yes.
It's finding that willpower, even if you don't do all this elaborate opening sacred space, any of that, even you just call out to the unseen and acknowledge there's
Hmm.
an unseen world. And most of all, acknowledge your ancestors.
Yeah.
Acknowledge you have ancestors that are there for you, looking after you. And it's amazing how transformational that can be.
It
How
is.
it can be life changing. You just need to acknowledge the ancestors, and that is a springboard for so many things. But the
Hmm.
stuckness is hard. And sometimes I say to people, sing your prayer.
Yes. Sing the songs you learned. I do that
Yes,
too. Sing the songs
yes.
of the Catholic Church. I did want to say, like, for me, the Catholic Church taught me that no, when I am in a struggle, that is when I would pray, and I would
Mhm.
actually go to the church because churches were open. They're open pretty much, the Catholic Church, and just sit there and talk to Jesus. And the
Yes.
candles are lit, and it's just so beautiful and quiet in there. And the smell of church, I love the smell of church too. But
Mhm.
I would do that though. That in times of struggle, Mother Mary
Yes.
came to me,
Yes,
just like a song.
exactly. With
you
words
know.
of wisdom. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
so
yeah.
it that
It's difficult. Some people do get a
yeah,
stuckness though
they
with
do.
prayer. So they need to work on their voice and their heart-mind connection and really try and just get out how they feel in whatever way they form. And
Yes.
once the words get flowing, it's really good. I mean, you can have silent prayers, but
Mhm.
it's really good if your soul can hear your voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really good
Yeah.
if your soul can hear you speaking because your soul wants to hear you too.
I know. And then before the show, we were talking about how my Catholic prayers, I had a struggle with how do I switch it to David was helping us me with the metaphysical and the shaman
Mm.
prayers. And it's just changing the little words. Changing the little words.
Yes.
And just doing that. It's not, the condemned God that, we know, but it's more of like turn it into a different word. Oh, that's so
Something that
beautiful.
something that fits your own beliefs. So for
Yeah.
me, instead of Our Father who art in heaven, it will be Great Mystery, Great Spirit, the universe.
Yes.
It doesn't
Yes.
matter. It doesn't. I think what's really important here is it doesn't make anybody's beliefs wrong.
No.
Prayer is meant as union and communion, not just with the unseen, but with your fellow brothers and sisters.
Mhm.
So I think it behoves all of us in whether it's a religion or a belief like mine, spirituality, is to find the common ground. We
Yeah.
can't move forward to the fifth world of peace or however you envisage peace. We can't move forward if we're all segregated. It's about accepting others' beliefs and finding the common ground.
Mhm.
Surely the common ground with all of those is we want peace.
Yes.
Whether we believe it's through God or Jesus or working with great mystery, it
Right.
doesn't matter. The common ground there is we all want peace.
And I believe that the great mystery and Jesus and all that they feel the same to me, or Christ consciousness. It all feels I don't know, this kind of feeling I get when I say those words. Do you get those tinglies like when you say
Yeah,
certain words in your prayers? Like it's like, wow, that just went up my back and in my skull, you know?
yeah.
Uh yeah.
That's that unseen world, whichever one it is you believe
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
that communicating with you and with your inner self and your soul and so on. But
It's
I
like,
think we've got to a time of year now at Christmas that
mhm.
these things are important. I mean, I love Christmas.
Yeah,
I
I do
don't,
too.
and winter solstice, and it's a time of getting together with family. It's love.
Mhm.
It's all those things that, David asks on the show, I think the other day, does anybody still get that Christmas feeling? Do you still
Mhm.
smell Christmas? Yes, I do.
Yes,
I
I
do. I've
sure
not
do.
lost that since I
No,
was a child. And you
no.
want that to be there to make it magical.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
doesn't matter what religion does it. It doesn't what Christmas. Christmas
yeah,
should just stand for this nice time of communion and union.
yeah, yeah. Because I'm not really Catholic anymore, I don't, practice it like I used to. So it's more become my own way, my own
Yes.
way. Yeah.
Mm.
Now, one more thing. I know we have to go. How about a prayer book? I had to do a prayer book. I have a prayer book that I write in because I had a
Beautiful.
session with Andrew and he's like, "You better have a prayer book."
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I do. I do. Do
That's
you have one that you
beautiful.
do you, that you
Yeah,
have?
mine's all probably typed out.
Oh,
But
yours is
what I
typed.
actually am going to do with all I have so much material written and prayers that I haven't put out there yet and so on, that I thought of doing like an ebook of all my prayers for
Oh,
people to use,
yes.
because they contain all the teachings as well, everything I've learnt with Andrew, plus how I've applied it to my life experience. So
I love
one
that.
of the products I think I'll come out with is a prayer book, obviously based on his teachings, because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
shamanic way. I have a book that I write. It's a journal. It's the journal that I
Oh.
will write prayers in, and I did used to write prayers by
Oh.
hand. And I will write ideas down by hand. But I think one thing, when I was going to say to you, when I was clearing out my dad's things after he passed, I found a spiritual prayer book, and it was called the Spiritual Prayer Book. And I'd never seen the Spiritual Prayer Book before. And then I
No.
discovered one line of my family were spiritualists, they used to call them then.
Get out
So
of here.
I'm continuing that line.
You
Yeah.
sure
I,
are, Laura.
yeah, great grandfather was like, he wrote poems and prayers and used to make shoes for the poor. He was a great humanitarian, so I do feel quite
I
attached to
love
that lineage, but also very honoured,
Yeah.
to continue to try and continue that. And that's something else I was going to say. So I will read some of his poems as prayers during prayer time, during my prayer
Oh,
time.
right.
Like I say, like at Semaine, when I'm particularly talking to the DNA lineage, I might read out some of his poems, which are just lovely poems about gardens and loves and things like that. And I might read them as part of the prayer time, because you
Laura.
can, can't you? You can sing, you can
Yeah.
sing,
See,
you can
chant.
say poems, show
Yeah.
pieces of artwork, dance.
Dance. Yep.
Dance prayers. I started
Yeah.
to dance my prayers too. That's another one I've forgotten. Yeah.
Yes.
So many ways to pray.
There's so many, and I just want to show you like one time. I don't know why I'm just doodling. Now this one was about grandmothers. So like a grandmother's quilt. So I just started doodling
Oh, wow.
because the prayer
Prayer
was a
quilt.
yeah. What'd you say?
Quilt. A prayer
Yeah, a prayer
quilt.
quilt. Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
my prayer quilt. I love it.
Wow.
I just started doodling
Beautiful.
it. That's.
Yes.
I mean,
Exactly.
it was so. It was. Yeah. So be creative with your prayer books. I love it. I love it.
That's beautiful, Amy. I love that. Yeah, I love
Thank
that.
you.
And
Yeah.
be creative with your prayers.
Yes, prayers and prayer book. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Laura. So how can people get a hold of you? It's come to an end.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Laura twofeathers at gmail.com. That's 2 with the number 2. And if you'd like to do a session with me, either on prayers, if you can't find your
Uh-huh.
prayer voice, or if you want me to take you to your ancestors, I'm an ancestral medium, or for anything else, we've got a couple of spaces left for combined healing in January as well. So, Amy,
Yes.
thank you so much. Thank you, David, in the background.
Oh, yes.
I could talk for ages.
I know. Part 2 on the prayers.
Okay.
Maybe
Thanks,
we
darling.
maybe we can bring you on and you can do a little prayer writing with me. I don't know. That might be great.
Well, maybe we've got a winter solstice show coming up,
Oh, that's
so
right. We do.
and you're coming on, so
Yes.
maybe we'll do something there too.
Okay.
Yeah, with
Yes.
Andrew.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
wonderful. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Okay,
Great.
everybody. Thank you, everybody, and stay magical. Bye.
Hope